Good morning. I see lots of little blocks and not people.
Good morning.
Hey, Finn. And Rebecca looks like she's using a walking desk.
A little like rat wheel. Yeah, it keeps me going.
That is great. And Anna and Brooke. And so we've got, so Joanne looks like she's here, but maybe isn't quite.
Looks like she left to go get a cup of coffee, I bet.
Ah. And there's Michael. Oh, there's Joanne. And well, it looked like Joanne was back.
Good morning, everybody. Hope everyone's doing well this morning. Happy Friday. Our icebreaker for today, I just need to fix my screen. One second. Sorry, I'm having a little tech issues today. And I can't see everybody.
Oh, but we're also good looking.
All right. So I'm sorry, I'm having little tech issues this morning. So for those who might not know me, my name is Joanne Roberts, and I'm helping to facilitate these meetings. And the first thing that we do at each meeting is an icebreaker. So the icebreaker for this morning is, what do you think is one skill set that everyone should have in regard to work? And I usually go first just to make it easy so no one feels stressed out about having to answer an icebreaker first thing. And one of the things I think is really important is active listening. And I'll do a second. I think coming into work with good intent is really important every day. And we're just going to pass it off to each other. So I see Michael there. Good morning, Michael. How are you? And we'll do introductions too. So we have some new folks.
No, I'm great. Thanks, Joanne. I'm Michael Bennett, and I'm a program officer with the Couch Family Foundation. And the skill, gosh, how about passion? Let's all bring some passion to work. And I'll pass it to, how about Liz?
I only heard about half of the prompt, but it's about what you bring to work. Okay, I'm going to say laughter. I always like to bring some joy and fun to work. Hopefully work appropriate fun and laughter. I'll pass it to Anna.
Good morning, everyone. I am currently sick, so I have a sick voice. I am the project manager of the Early Childhood Education Initiative at Vital Communities and Inclusion. Sarah Kopolinski.
Good morning. I'm with the Couch Family Foundation as a community consultant, and I think respect would be another one of the pieces, I think, of what to bring to work. And I'm going to pass it to Finn.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Finn Crooks. I'm the Southern Regional Organizer for Windham and Windsor County for Let's Grow Kids. And Tammy Haslett asked me to pop in and give the legislative update today. So that is why I'm here. I've met some of you, and others I've only talked to on the phone or email, but it's nice to see all of your faces, especially early in the morning on a Friday. Let's see, what do I bring to work? I like to bring a positive attitude and balance balance. So work could just be work, or we can bring a little bit of our personal lives too. And I think that's important. And how about I pop it over to Amy?
Hello, my name is Amy Brooks, and I'm with Liz. I really appreciate a sense of humor because the world doesn't work perfectly. So, and I will pass to Rebecca.
My name is Rebecca. I work for the Hanover Co-op food stores and auto service centers in the Upper Valley. And I think my favorite things to bring to work are self-awareness and the ability to connect over shared goals instead of the least common denominator. How about Brooke?
Good morning. I'm Brooke Freeland with the Couch Family Foundation, and I'm grateful to work with all of you because I love everything you're all bringing to work every day. So I echo all of it, but I would emphasize, positivity and fun. I'm kind of bringing light because we all work in what can be sometimes frustrating and tense situations. And I think I'm the last one, so I'll kick it back to Joanne.
Wonderful. Thank you all so much for sharing. I appreciate it. And for being here this morning. I know everyone's so busy. So the first thing we're going to talk a bit about are legislative efforts in New Hampshire and Vermont. Welcome, Finn. Would you please give us kind of an update of what's happening in Vermont?
Yeah, so stuff is kind of moving fairly quickly with Senate Bill 56, the bill about childcare. So it came out of committee, the Health and Human Services Committee last week with pretty much flying colors. We did have 2 nay votes on that bill from Senator Weeks and Senator Williams. They're from sort of the Rutland Bennington area. But they also did a ton of work to help make the bill better. And so a lot of our legislative messaging is about that. We are appreciative of their positive impact, even though they ended up voting no. However, the bill came out of that committee and has now moved through finance, and with flying colors through the finance committee, and then it should go to House Appropriations today. And we expect there to be a final vote on the bill next week on the Senate floor. So we've got a couple of different asks of folks. Number one, if you've got a senator that sits on the Appropriations Committee, to contact them and tell them your support, and we've got a contact form for that. And then the other ask, and actually I should have pulled that contact form up. The other big ask though is that if anybody sitting right here is planning to go to the rally that we're holding on April 12th in support of this bill. So we expect the bill to move through the Senate and to be voted on next week, and we expect that will go positively. And so then the next big action that we feel like we'll have coming from Let's Grow Kids is this rally that we're holding on April 12th on the State House lawn. So that's a big show of support, and we want folks to sign up as much as possible. So if you haven't signed up, and if you haven't passed it on to your network of folks, even if they're in New Hampshire, to go ahead and pass that on. And we are looking to get at least 1,000 folks signed up to come. We're at about 700 right now. We really want more than that. So that's our big ask and our big push. Is there anybody sitting here who has not yet signed up? Or you're all signed up for the rally?
I haven't signed up because I'm presenting in Concord that day.
Darn.
But I have been pushing it out heavily through our ECE listserv to try to get people to sign up.
Yeah. So if you would just continue to do that. And then let me also just really quick pull up our contact form. So right now, that's not the right one. Well, give me just a moment and I'll get our contact form pulled up. That's going to go directly to Senate Appropriations and has the messaging just directly about the bill. So if yesterday I would have been able to tell you exactly which senators we're targeting, but I'm not on the policy committee, so I don't actually know which very specific senators we are targeting for the finance committee, but we just as many contacts in that we can get about the bill right now as it is going through that reading process and getting ready to go to the Senate floor is important. So let me send you that contact form.
Then it's appropriations that it goes to next.
Oh yeah, sorry, I did say finance. It's already gone through finance. It's
Finance, right.
appropriations. That
Okay,
goes through
so
next. And
our
actually getting-
area doesn't have any senators on that committee. So are there any
Right.
particular senators to target at this point?
when you say your area, what do you mean?
So
your
all of us are from, on the Vermont side of the river, all of our initiative focuses on Windsor and Orange counties
okay.
in particular. And so when I look at the list.
Yeah, so there's
of-
not anybody on appropriations.
Right.
Right.
But is there anybody out of that group who might most benefit from hearing? If we were encouraging people to contact anyway.
I think like the more contacts in, and actually in that case, why don't you hold off on pushing out until the Senate floor vote is happening? Because then it's just kind of all hands on. We definitely want McDonald to hear a bit more. So speaking about Orange County,
Okay.
hold off on pushing out that form then, but I will send it to you. And but the final Senate vote we think is going to happen next week. I can't tell you what day though, probably midweek.
So is Let's Grow Kids concerned at all about some of the kinds of things that have been proposed, like taking away the child tax credit and then the issues about family, sort of these internal dynamics of
Right.
competitive tensions for the same dollars, the family leave money and the child tax credit.
Right. So we're watching very closely what people are saying about those changes and kind of listening to constituents and their reaction. But our main goal is just to support the childcare bill. So the childcare bill as written, and in terms of like the very specific policy dynamics and what changes are happening as these go through floor readings, I'd have to send you to Drake or to Sarah, who could answer your policy questions like really specifically. I'm on the field team, and so my goal is to get you excited and energized about the bill. And so that's like, we want a bill to pass because childcare is important and because it does do a lot of really good things. In terms of like the very specific things, obviously we have goals and we have exactly what we want. We want that $192 million appropriated, and we want that written into the bill ad infinitum. And we want the funding sources that are going to get to those three main goals that we want: keeping it affordable, keeping ECs funded and accredited, and equitable access. So we want all of those things to happen. And then the details, the policy team's going to have to tell you how that shakes out, but we want you to support it.
Got
and
it.
we want you to tell your folks to support it.
Got
So-
it. Okay. Helps to have the sort of the lines of
Yeah.
of the pathway of the strategy clear.
The strategy
Thanks.
is to get a childcare bill through and to show how many Vermonters and folks from across the border also support it. So. Cool. I'll send you that advocacy form. It'll be the second link that I pop in the chat. But yeah, let's hold off on that until the Senate vote gets to the floor middle to late next week. It also might end up getting pushed to the next week, but that's the update that I have for you.
Super. Thank you so much, Finn. I appreciate it.
Mhm.
I also have some information from Luann that comes from Tammy Haslett. And it says, talks a bit about the 5 yes votes and then goes on to say the committee was tasked with determining a funding source for the bill and landed on a 0.42% payroll tax, a split 75-25 between employer and employee. It says this afternoon, this was written yesterday, the Appropriations Committee will do their work on the bill. We're hopeful but not certain that we'll be able to vote the bill out of the committee today. So that would have been yesterday. These things are moving quickly right now, and things might have changed by the time this update is being read for real. So just a little bit more information about it. And once again, supporting people to going to the Courage to Care rally that Finn spoke about today. So I appreciate it. Thank you. And Finn, you're welcome to stay if you would like to, and you're welcome to hop off if you have lots of other things to do today. So we're just glad you're here. Thanks so much.
Thanks so
The
much.
next
I'll
thing
stay around for about 10 minutes, but I will hop off at 10.
Okay, fantastic. Does anybody have updates in regard to New Hampshire legislation where we are today? Either Amy or Sarah, did you want to give any updates about New Hampshire?
Actually, Michael might have more current updates than the rest of us do. And things that I know, sometimes I know from him. So I'm going to suggest that we defer to him, and Amy may have some other stuff in the last 24 hours too. So
Great.
I'm putting you on the spot, Michael. Is that okay?
I guess so. I didn't prepare anything, and I came hoping to get updates, but I don't see anybody from the statewide work here today. But I was at a briefing meeting this week, and Senate Bill 237 did pass the full Senate Finance Committee this week, 7-0. So that was encouraging. It passed the House or the Senate Ways and Means or Senate Human Services Committee last week. So it will move now to the full Senate. There was a last minute amendment to the bill that tiered down the appropriation for reforms to the scholarship system. So that's increasing eligibility for low income families and increasing payments to providers. That was initially put at about $14 million a year over 2 years. They've tiered that down to $7 million a year over 2 years. The idea being that there are other vehicles that will also help fill that gap. So they're not anticipating this will result in fewer families being served by scholarships, but those dollars will come from other places. I'm not 100% sure exactly where those dollars will be coming from, but two important things that are preserved in the bill is moving eligibility to scholarship to 85% state median income. So that will be a big change for the state. And it will also mean that subsidy payments to providers will now be, or if it passes, 75% of the market rate survey, as opposed to where it is now, which is closer to about 60%. So this is all encouraging news. You know, the workforce fund is still in the bill, but there's no appropriation for that fund. It's still set at $1. I think the idea is that funding for that could come from various asks that are out there to the for the remaining ARPA relief dollars. The GOFR, that's the governor's office for emergency relief and recovery, you know, we know what some of those asks are. There are 4 separate asks to that group related to childcare. We know what 2 of those are, but we don't know what 2 others are. There's really no detail. So we're not really sure, or at least I'm not really sure what will happen with that. We did hear that the property tax legislation did not get a good hearing. Sean's, legislation SB 221 did not get a good hearing in committee and was voted inexpedient to the legislature, which in my understanding effectively kills that bill, but that's just my understanding, and I might not have the full understanding, but there was some concern in the committee that that passing that bill could be a slippery slope to providing specific tax relief to specific industries. And there was some concern about that. So some of you may have more recent information about that if you've talked to Sean. So I'll defer to you guys. So anyway, those are just a couple updates I have. Not very thorough, but Amy, was there anything that you wanted to add?
have trouble with my mouse. I don't have anything to add. I know that I was, I thought that was funny that they thought it was a slippery slope, considering it through other ways that they do give tax breaks to other industries. Maybe not based on the same kind of exemption, but they definitely give tax breaks. So I think there's a lot more education that has to be done around that work, but maybe next time, maybe we try again. I don't know.
Yeah, my understanding of the inexpedient to legislate thing is it's dead for now, but it doesn't mean it can't be brought back in the future. And apparently was a 3-2 split in the committee, which said that part of the committee got it. And so, talking with Sean or getting some better understanding of who was objecting and really what their lens might be, might matter for some future work on this. Because it just does seem like such one of those things that has little impact on anyone except the actual providers for whom it could have big impact. So it feels like a small piece of legislation that could help if we could work on it again in the future. One of those incremental bites into the whole problem, not a huge one, but still worthwhile. And probably with morale implications, improved morale implications for providers.
Thank
Yeah,
you for those updates.
Oh,
Go ahead. No,
I was just
please
going to
go ahead.
say, I think that goes for the investments in the workforce as well. I think it's kind of telling that, last year, Senate Bill 446 was all about the workforce behind the workforce. So we hear a lot about this, that the workforce is important. But the fact that they're, not being more transparent about what they are thinking, and I'm talking about the state here, about specific investments to support recruitment and retention of the workforce. It's just, it's concerning to me, because without investments in the workforce, how are we going to, build the infrastructure and access so that these the scholarship programs can actually serve the additional families that we hope that it will be able to serve. So I think there's a lot of work and education, as Amy says, it still needs to be done.
Pardon me. Thank you both very much. Along those lines of getting New Hampshire updates, I met with Nancy and Mackenzie from Moms Rising this week. They're very interested in both joining the advocacy committee. So Anna's going to reach out to them and add them to the Gmail account. And so they're another resource for us to learn about what's happening in New Hampshire. They are also going to be offering a program for people interested in advocacy. And they're coming on over to the Upper Valley. I offered our SAU office, which is right here in West Leb, as a place for them to come on over, and they could have childcare up in the gym, and they could have the parents listening and becoming informed about how to be advocates. And so I just wanted to share that. They'll be coming on board as part of our committee members and helping us, amplify voices for this important cause. Also wanted to mention,
I just want to reemphasize that their focus specifically is the viewpoint of parents and the voice of parents.
Yeah, they're actually national, and what's very interesting is that they echoed that there's not one source in New Hampshire to get information from or to lead this kind of campaign. And so they're seeing it because they work with the different groups as well. And we've mentioned that several times here, that what is the group that's really going to bring things forward in New Hampshire. So they're also interested in becoming part of this group to make it New Hampshire wide, whatever that is, whatever that support is. Talked about the need for training, talked about the need for education about what's happening in ECE. So I think that there'll be a nice addition with that framework that they're bringing in. I also wanted to mention, it's not on this agenda, but it is part of advocacy in regard to the conversations we've had with the Lebanon ECE facility. And Chris from Boys and Girls Club and Sean and Amy and I met last night. And it's kind of exciting that both Sean and Chris were very open to the concept that Amy brought forward through ECEA of having an advisory committee, so that the advisory committee for the Lebanon facility will be one where everyone's kept in communication with what's happening with that facility. It's not in any way to be a barrier, but more so to share information. And Amy and I will be meeting with the ECA group and working on defining what the committee role actually is, which I think is really important before it lifts off. And then a reminder that Sean and Chris will be holding a forum virtually in person for early educators talking about the facility. And the questions are available in a document, and I'll be facilitating that meeting. So that's coming up on April 3rd as well. I want to thank everybody for your assistance with the proclamation. We went from 4 to 5 pages down to a page and 1 bullet. Brooke, thank you for sending an example that I'll take a look at today. And there was quite a few people that added some comments, so I've continually tweaked it. We'll send it off to Sean and ask if he's comfortable with and supports the language that we've put together to be able to do a proclamation. I'm going to catch up with John because there was a connection with John Drew and the Vital Communities work that he's doing, and the manager from Enfield. So I'm curious to see if Enfield will also have a banner besides Lebanon and Hanover. And yesterday I picked up signs, then Anna has signs, the Week of the Young Child signs. I handed 7 off to Nancy, who's going to put them around the kind of Kearsarge Upper Valley area. So we've kind of linked that direction. I'm going to take on Lebanon, Hanover area, and Anna's going to take on the Vermont area to get those signs. Would love to see us move forward and make it a statewide thing next year, but it's a great start. And Anna, did you want to talk a little bit about, or could you put up the spreadsheet with who's doing what for Week of Young Child? Because this is actually our last meeting. The next meeting we have will be after that week is over. So I just wanted to go through with what we were working on.
Yes. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes, thank you.
All right. So posters, like Joanne said, we are good to go. If you would like any posters to hang for yourself, please let us know. We got all the big logos. Those are good to go. Lawn signs. I put the order in for them to be made early this week. They should be delivered to the Vital Communities office by early of next week. Electronic signs, Joanne, where are we with that?
When I do the proclamation with Sean, I'll ask him at that time. Thank you. I handed the signs out also to my leadership team. So all of our schools in Lebanon have a sign to put out up front. Still haven't heard. I'll reach out to Jackie in regard to Governor Sununu. I see that as on the list.
Okay. Yes. And then newspapers, we haven't talked about that at all yet. I didn't know if anyone had any ideas or if we should forego it for this time around and aim for it next year.
I'm wondering if I talk with Sean, the Valley News represents both Vermont and New Hampshire. I could put together some basic bullets that aren't specific to Vermont and New Hampshire, but just general bullets. I think a 1-pager from the Valley News, if Vital Communities could fund that, would be great. And then I heard that you had pictures from when you visited the Claremont facility.
Yes, I
And if
do.
other people have pictures that could send them to you, like perhaps Amy, you could ask for providers to send a few pictures. And what I'm imagining is what we do with the spotlight is we have the pictures on the upper section of the Valley News, because nothing is better than looking at students' faces and what they're doing in our schools. And then we have the information below. So maybe we could do a full page ad that, you know, says Week of the Young Child. Perhaps Amy, you could share the hands, so that like, that are flowers, like something that we could pull so it catches people's eyes, and then do some like a did you know, and put that underneath it. And I'd be happy to work with you on that, Anna.
Okay, great. And then in terms of social media on the Vital Community side of things, I have this no, that's proclamation. Can you still see my screen? Can you see the social media?
Yes.
No?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, okay. So I've been working with our communications team. We have an e-news that's being published next Friday, 31st. Week of the Young Child starts tomorrow, and then our communications director thought it would be good to include the proclamation in that. If anyone has any ideas related to that, feedback is very welcome. This is one of the photos I took from the Claremont facility. So we're just going to throw a photo in with that.
What if I always love when we can use one thing more than one time. What if what we put on that is what we put toward the Valley News as well? So we're creating one document with the pictures, and then like, did you know? Would that be helpful, Anna?
Yeah, instead of the proclamation?
I think so. I mean, this is coming from Vital Communities, right?
Yes.
So we represent the bi-state, and if we just do the New Hampshire side, I think that could be problematic. But if we use bullet points that are the same for both Vermont and New Hampshire, you know,
Yeah.
there's plenty of things that are shared in both of those, in the proclamation, that would equally represent both states. That's kind of what I'm thinking about out loud.
Yes.
And do you see Amy's ask in the chat about getting this to the Vermont ACY group? Amy, I'm presuming they're compiling what's going on all over the state.
I know there's the New Hampshire website that asks to let them know what they're doing, and you can put in like your zip code, and it comes up with a marker as to who's doing what throughout the state. I don't know if Vermont's doing something similar, Amy.
Yeah, I think they just have a list of events. I'm not sure. And we did not get the $500.
What was that for, Amy?
That was Vermont AEYC was doing some scholarship, $500 event scholarships or whatever for Week of Young Child events or whatever. So, but I maybe get some from Region 1. So I'm going to be meeting with them today.
Could you perhaps provide a bit of an outline in what you need the cost for? And I could share them with John and see if there's funding from this initiative to help you out.
Basically, I mean, whatever it would go to, whatever needs to be paid for. So whatever is not covered for costs, or it could reimburse the ECA for the costs that we had or whatever. Do we know if who would pay for the Enfield banner? I mean, it would need to be ordered immediately in order to get it up on the road by next weekend.
My understanding from our minutes that we shared back and forth, Anna, was that Elizabeth Ash said that she would pay for the banners.
paying for the lawn signs.
Okay. Amy, I forgot that you're on that list. There was something about somebody was paying for them and then they went to Tracy, so there must have been funding.
I thought Tracy,
I don't know if she was actually paying for them or she organized to put them up, but let me just see if it's even something that John connected with the other person about. I think that's the first step.
Were the first two banners already made?
I thought there was an email that Tracy said that she received them and she offered to keep them in her location where they would be
Okay.
dry. I remember an email thread that went out a week or two ago about that.
Hmm.
So I'll follow up with her, just send her
Okay.
an email. Okay.
And then there's a blog post that will be published on Monday. And this is what we have so far for it. So if folks just want to take a second to read.
I think that looks great. Is there an opportunity to add a sentence or two that if you want to participate in the Vital Communities Early Childhood Initiative to also reach out to you?
Yes, definitely.
We might be able to grab some folks.
Yeah.
maybe change sponsored by the National Association, because I don't really pay for anything. That's the way I think of sponsoring.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not individually supporting anything. It's more like they're leading it. Or
Right.
they're not really coordinating it either. So maybe lead.
Great. And then for social media posts on the Vital Communities Facebook and Instagram, our communications team suggested doing one Monday of next week, Wednesday of next week, Thursday and Friday, and using Monday as an introduction to what the Week of the Young Child is, and then going into Wednesday, Thursday with teasers about why the Week of the Young Child exists. And then Friday, it starts tomorrow. And then on the days, so Saturday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, do the themes and then give a resource that the NAEYC gives for families and educators.
It sounds great. Thank you so much. I'm glad that we're getting into this different level of sharing information and getting it out. So thanks for lifting it and moving it forward, Anna.
Awesome. Yeah.
Anna, did you see what I put in the chat? I don't really understand social media, whatever, but Vermont AEYC, there might be a hashtag Child 23, which is more the national, I think.
Okay.
And then to pull in AEYC, that's what was on the website under like events or whatever.
Yes, definitely. Thank you. Yeah, along that line, I wasn't sure what partners to tag. Couch Family Foundation doesn't have an Instagram account, or do they?
No. We have LinkedIn, but we don't have Instagram.
Okay. And then if there are any other tags that are thrown around in Upper Valley social media posts that anyone is aware of.
I'm trying to convince our media team to at least do something on social for APD around the week of the young child. So could potentially tag APD, but I want to confirm that I've
Okay.
managed to convince them to do something.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, keep me posted on that and we can definitely throw APD in there. Any other comments, suggestions, questions, excitements? All right. Yeah, and then we had talked about getting something on BPR and NHPR or WMUR. Has anyone worked on that or thought about that?
I don't know how that works. So does somebody have experience doing that? We could put something like that together for Daybreak easily, but I don't know how the public radio
Right.
ads work. I'm guessing they'd be pretty expensive, but I don't know.
That's where I think that the statewide groups may already know or be on it, where Vermont ACY, and I'm not quite sure in New Hampshire, but I would want to go through them first.
Okay. I can reach out to them and float all of this by them. And then we're on to ID cards, which I believe is the next thing on the agenda.
Amy,
Joanne,
where are you with the ID cards?
Making them, and they are being sent out now.
Great.
Yeah, some of them already have them, and we are just more data, which is great.
awesome. Joanne, did you ever hear back from Tracy if whether or not she sent the business outreach email to the UVDA members?
I have not heard back, but I think what we could do is send that information that you're putting together for social media. If you could, when you finalize that, send it to me. I can send it to Tracy, and then she could send it to the Upper Valley Business Association.
Okay, great.
Folks, we can get as much use out of it as possible. Would be great.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Sounds good. And I think that is all for our Week of the Young Child to-dos.
Thanks, Anna. When I go around with the signs, I'm also going to be asking businesses if they would consider doing discounts. So when I go to BJ's, I'm going to ask them. I'm going to ask Staples. I'm going to ask Paper Mill, because I'm going to ask Michael's store, places that I know that educators go to often, and see while I'm there in person, I think is the best chance to get someone to say, yeah, we'd be willing to do that. So I will be covering those areas and asking for discounts at the same time that we're handing out the posters. Posters came out really nice. They look great. So good job with that.
Joanne, if you want to shoot me a little blurb on the language that you're using to ask them for discounts, I will definitely relay the message to where I hand out posters to.
Sure. I'm just writing a note to make sure I do that too for you. And I'll do it first and then I'll see what works best, you know, tears, begging, joy, whatever it takes to get the discount, I'm willing to do. So I'll be the first out there and let you know. So on to the rest of the agenda. Finn mentioned the Courage to Care rally, and we also just have a little bit about the virtual conversation with Sean that's coming up on April 6th. I have it at 6. Is it April 6th or April 3rd, Amy?
One is a Friday and one is a Monday. Does that tell you anything?
April 3rd.
I think it's a Monday. Yeah. Thank you.
April
I read
3rd
that.
is Friday.
April 3rd on my
Okay.
calendar.
It's the 3rd at 6.
It's the 3rd at 6. Thank you. I thought
one was a Monday and
It
one
was a Monday,
was a Thursday. It's a Monday. That's the 3rd. Yeah, at 6.
okay.
That's what's
Perfect.
actually written in my book.
Thank you. So in regard to actions for this initiative and its members this week, we have a lot of focus on Week of the Young Child, which was our goal that we talked about back in the fall. So I think and appreciate everyone's efforts to get us to this point. We have the conversation about the ECE facility with the educators, and then also the conversation about creating this advisory committee through ECEA coming up. I mentioned connecting with Moms Rising. I'll also mention Sarah and I met with Rick Mills and Joanne Conroy. Sarah did an incredible job of explaining the background, the history of ECE, and I think the outcome was exactly what I think we hoped, Sarah, that they themselves came up with 6 major points of ways that they can support early childhood educators coming from themselves, are very much so wanting to support and put potential dollars behind that support. And Amy and I will be working on an overview based on, did Joanne Conroy send those 6 things, or is that something I need to ask when I think?
She did. She sent it right after the meeting. You'll find an email from her. That was just, just that quick list.
Wonderful. So that's exciting. That they are seeing the need from the business end, but they are also seeing the need to be collaborative in the process, to work as a community, that there's different pathways to resolve this issue, not just one. And I thought that was a great outcome. Is there anything else that you wanted to mention, Sarah, about that meeting?
The only other things I would mention, it was really clear that there's folks know that there's a new president coming into Dartmouth College, whose name I still have not gotten totally my head wrapped around, but Cian is her first name, and Rick kept referring to her by her first name. She apparently has been in a lot of communication with him, and this has been very high on her list. She wants to know what the college is doing about childcare, is the way that he was framing that, and clearly has signaled the message that she's going to be watching this and wants to be engaged in it. So that suggests to me that this is not a flash in the pan, that this is going to be a presence that we will want to be sure that we are being inclusive of, so that we don't end up with separate strands of activity going on right here in the same, 4 square feet. And the other thing is that they each entered the meeting with solutions and moving them to understanding the scope of the issues, was why that list of 6 things 6 areas was so important because it really demonstrates that move to a place that we've, sort of the pathway that we've all needed to walk, which is understanding how complicated this is. So.
Terrific. Any other business people want to mention this morning?
I had, so in some of the other advocacy work I do, I am a member of the National Farmers Union, and they had their annual convention where they kind of go over what their policy is and what they're hoping chapters can move on, and also their national staff. And there was a lot of talk around childcare. And so there's an opportunity for a national organization like National Farmers Union. You may have never heard of them, but it's a pretty big, well-established like advocacy group that advocates for small and medium-scale family farms. In the Farm Bill, which is like a once every 5 years kind of thing that needs to get re-upped, there's a rural development title. And actually the co-chair of the subcommittee on rural development for the Farm Bill is Senator Welch. So yeah, really hopeful that we'll have some good conversations moving forward from there. Farm Bureau is another organization that I'm not a part of, but they've already started kind of surveying their vast membership and are generating some ideas and language and stuff like that. So going forward, what's going to happen is National Farmers Union and Farm Bureau are going to have a conversation and then probably move forward separately. But the players that Farmers Union is working with right now is there's a professor at the State University of Ohio who is working on like federal childcare policy stuff. I haven't connected with her yet, but we're in like early conversations about what our goals would be and things like that. So I'm happy to send whatever comes out of these conversations to this group, or anyone who wants to put their eyes on it. I certainly value your input and your opinions. But yeah, I have no idea where it will go, but it should be pretty interesting.
We'd love to work with you and support you on that.
Great, thank you.
Absolutely. And I'm wondering, Rebecca, can you speak on behalf of the co-op in regard to putting signs up for the week of the young child in the
Yeah,
different stores?
so we have the community spaces inside, and I think that we definitely can do that. The service desk handles those, so they're responsible for putting on the signs up, taking it down. So it'd be very simple to do that. Something outside, I don't know, that might get a little bit more
Oh, that's
complicated.
fine. Yeah.
Oh yeah, but on the community board, absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Could you maybe email them out and let them know that either Anna and I will stop by with the sign? They're not huge.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
And
they
if
know we're
it's
coming.
easier, you're welcome to do one drop-off point for me, and then I can make all of the different stores happen.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Are there 3 in the Upper Valley or more than 3 co-op
Well,
stores? Would you
so we have 4 stores. There's the community market kind of in Hanover /Lime on Lime Road by Stores Pond. There's the White River Co-op, the Lebanon Co-op, and the Hanover Co-op. And then I don't think that our service centers have, as much space, stuff like that, to display information. So yeah, we'll go with 4.
Okay. Is it fine if I drop them off at the Lebanon one in the?
Sure.
Is that
Yeah.
fine? All right.
Sure.
So if you could just let them know, I'll be heading over today and I'll drop
Okay.
off the signs.
Perfect.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course.
Actually, Joanne, I'm going to check on that for a second. Rebecca, are you at Gilman Office Complex? Are you at the offices there? Is that where you are?
Yeah, that is where I am.
Joanne, that may be closer for you and easier. Are you aware of where Rebecca's office is?
I am not.
I'm in
Where
one
are
of the
you,
Pizza
Rebecca?
Hut buildings behind all the autos. I can meet you anywhere too. I'm happy to do that, but I'm on Holiday Drive.
Okay.
Do you know where the big Mascoma Bank Operations Center is, up near where the post office is in White River?
No, but I can find it. I'm not that familiar
Oh.
with the White River
Okay.
area.
It's just that spot is closer to your office at the SAU than you are to the Lebanon Co-op store.
Okay, I've probably driven by a zillion times and I was singing in my car and missed it. But it's
No,
quite okay.
it's one of those places that's actually kind of a destination rather than a, rather than a stop on the railroad.
Yeah.
I have this info and I'm writing it down, Rebecca. So I
Okay.
will drop them off sometime today, if that works
Great.
for
I'll
you.
put my cell phone in the chat in case you have any problems. I can find you.
All right, I appreciate it.
I wanted to mention something that I was trying to look into at APD. I noticed there was one of the snow days, and I know that having a kid like in school, that meant that I was at home, and so but I called in. We have a safety huddle every morning where the different departments kind of mention any kind of issues that are happening in the past 24 hours. I'm looking ahead 24 hours, and department after department was like, we're short-staffed, we're short-staffed, we're short-staffed. And I thought, they didn't actually say, but I wonder if they're all home with their kids because school is closed. So I'm kind of trying to look into whether APD could put together like a small drop-in child care for school-aged kids, specifically thinking about snow days or other days that school's closed. And I reached out to Amy, see if she had any input about what would be the rules that we would need to follow, and kind of trying to do some exploration to see how many staff actually are impacted when there's snow days. Just very beginning of a project to see what we might be able to do to help support staff to come to work on days that they might not be able to because they don't have childcare. So if anyone had an example that like came to mind where they're like, oh, well, I knew this business that put that together, I'd be happy to connect with them to see what their model is.
Well, actually, this is a place maybe we could go back and maybe get permission in some way or some approval from Joanne Conroy at DH. So we don't often see or hear much about the DH Child Care Center, which is on their grounds, because it is run by an outside company called Bright Horizons, which is a national company. Bright Horizons has been around for like 40 years. And in its beginnings, it tended to set up in corporate office parks and was a drop-in childcare program for people coming to, business people who would be, on the road and they would be going to some other city or something, but taking their kids with them, and they could leave them at the Bright Horizons Center in the building where they were doing their work. And they could sign up for a day or a week or whatever. So Bright Horizons has had a long history of doing drop-in, and not even continuous, like no relationship drop-in childcare. So I don't know whether the folks who are local here would know anything about it, but it might be, that company, Bright Horizons, might be a place to start for models and nuances of how to function in this kind of space.
Yeah, that's a good suggestion. I'll see who I can connect to, learn more.
You also might want to
And
consider.
Amy's put something in the chat too.
Yeah, I was thinking of the CCBA that often has after-school programs. So many of our children go to that from Lebanon. Perhaps they could do a snow day program, kind of a drop-in. I don't know who the person is who's running it at this point. I know it's changed several times over the years, but that might be another avenue to look into. I looked into it as the superintendent, knowing that there were challenges with parents. I was going to open our SAU office, which has an auditorium and has a gym. Where we ran into complications was when I closed schools, it means that the roads are treacherous for our employees to drive. And therefore I'd be asking my own staff to come in and drive when I've closed the schools. Secondarily to that, it would have to be open to all students, including students with special needs. And many of our students have one-to-ones or complex needs. And I wouldn't, as a superintendent, be able to ensure that there would be a para there or somebody who was going to help them with toileting. So I couldn't do a universal program that was equitable for all of the children, because I know the 2-hour delays and the full days are a hardship. And I put that forward 3 years ago and came up with some barriers. The SAU office also is not fully ADA compliant. For those of you in the field, our toilets are adult size in height, and our sinks are, and our stairs are too many inches between steps for little ones. So it also came to be a facilities issue as to why I couldn't have the younger children in the building for a program that I'm necessarily offering. So those are some things to consider when you're looking at where children might be able to go, Liz, and asking the facilities to make sure that they can meet the needs of the age groups that might be going there.
Yeah, and I don't even quite know the age groups or the demand. It just struck me that so I'm kind of looking into both sides, both like what would be the requirements and what would be our demand. But I know that like it impacted
That would
me,
be awesome, because
so I thought
many
it might
parents-
impact others.
Yeah. There'd be so many parents who would benefit from that, and particularly those that don't get any days off for sick or personal or vacation, and they are hour by, every hour of their that they work is going toward rent and food and all of those things. And I try to do 2-hour delays rather than a full day if I can, with a nod toward the understanding of how greatly it impacts people. So I think that's a fantastic idea. If there's any way I can help, let me know.
Even I'm wondering, I see that Amy had shared that if it's under 6 kids, there's no regulations. So even if we just had a 5 max, like, and focused on specific departments that had more lower wage hourly workers, that would be a win in my book.
That sounds wonderful.
Thanks for all your input.
Any other business for today? Okay. Our next meeting is going to be Friday, April 14th. I hope everybody has a wonderful weekend. A little bit of rain and snow heading our way, so keep those winter clothes out. We're not quite over the winter yet. And I will see you all soon. Thanks so much. Take care. Bye.
Thank you.